more than what I could ever imagine. 11:15, I have a gap between some classes, so I decided to do homework and film some content. So a little bit about me, who am I, and how I came to the conclusion that I would want to give it a shot to do a podcast, which I named Mi Vida en Segundo. So long story short, I am a soccer lover like many people, and I had the dream of becoming pro like many kids. Eventually, not only did I realize that maybe I was not gonna go pro, but I also got hurt. And I'm gonna use the phrase that many people use, oh, I could have gone pro, but my knee. Yeah, but in my case, it wasn't my knee, it was my groin. I've had 2 groin injuries. That's not an excuse, right? Many could recover, proper rehabilitation, proper resting, but eventually I realized that my time was up and I could do something else with what I've learned from soccer. So long story short, like I said, I began playing soccer when I was 8 years old, and after realizing that I was not as fast as the other kids, that I was chubby, that I was out of shape, that I was shy, I realized I had work to do. I began going on runs alone, doing suicides. For those of you that are athletes, you know that suicides, you go back and forth, and they're called suicides because they're not fun to do. They drain you. But since I knew that I was not the fastest and I needed to work on my condition, my speed, I began doing those by myself. I knew that I had to do extra training after practice. I couldn't just rely on practice to get me better because everyone else was like 10 times better than me. So I did my work. I talked to people because I was center back and I was a captain, so I had to use my voice. I can't just be quiet. I mean, center back requires you to talk, move your teammates, let them know if they're standing somewhere we're not supposed to, talk to the coach, talk to the parents. So I began seeing a difference in me. So eventually, that's how I loved soccer a lot, because I realized it gave me so much. It gave me more than what I could ever imagine. So once I realized that soccer was probably not going to work out, I said, okay, but what did I learn from soccer? I learned how to speak up. I learned the art of discipline. I learned that in order for me to get better, I have to put in the work. And I learned how to talk to others. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but I learned how to talk to others. I just became an individual that's more outgoing and confident. After that, I said, okay, and what was I trying to do with soccer? Well, my main goal was obviously to make it pro, like many kids. But I also wanted to inspire. By me making it, I hoped to inspire those around me that knew me, for them to be like, okay, well, if Chewy made it, then maybe I have a chance too, because we're from the same place. So that's what I really wanted to do. So once I saw that soccer didn't work out, I said, okay, then how can I inspire? And I said, okay, well, I learned to use my voice. And whenever I used my voice, I realized how people would not laugh at me. So I said, okay, maybe they laughed at me when I wasn't there. But when I was there, it seems like they gave me their respect. So I said, okay, how can I use my voice? And after thinking and thinking, I said, okay, maybe a podcast. Maybe a podcast would be perfect because I get the opportunity to sit down with others, speak to them, learn about them, and then maybe I could inspire. And I just said, okay, I'm gonna take my chance to it, and I loved it. I'm loving the process. I have more work to do, but at least I'm taking action. And I named it Mi Vida en Segundos because people are literally talking about their life in seconds. And not only do I learn from them, but those that watch it. And of course, just because I decided to start that podcast, it doesn't mean that I'm any better than you, that I don't go through stress, anxiety, fear, anything that you can think of. It does not make me any perfect better. It just means that I decided to trust myself and go all in on something that I like. So that applies to you. If you have something in the back of your head and you want to give it a shot, do it. Do it because one day you're not going to be here, and no one's gonna know what you want to do but you. It sounds cliche and many people say it, but when you're in the deathbed, you're gonna be regretting, I should have done that. That's something you don't wanna do. If nothing works out, at least you try. That's all that matters. At least you will know that you tried. We're all human. We're all here to get better daily. That's something that I believe in. Daily work and daily consistency. Just showing up makes a difference. It doesn't always have to be 100%, but just showing up makes a difference. And by me trying to really do my best with this podcast and with this content, I've not only learned a lot about myself, but I've also pushed myself because if I'm going to be preaching something, I have to do my best to set the example, you know? And that's where the message, when your purpose is bigger than you, you will no longer rely on motivation. I love that quote. And it's true. Why? Because you no longer think about yourself, but everyone and everything that you're trying to do. So whenever I feel like slacking off, not recording, I know that maybe there's people that look up to me and they see me as an example of, okay, if he's doing it, then maybe I can too.